Hey everyone, it's Will, GamerDad, with another video for you. So in today's video, we're going to go into the newest dungeon, which is the Iscariot, that is unlocked after the final chapter of the Future Mythos, aka the Apex of Logic and Cardinal Scales. Now, if you haven't already, make sure you like and subscribe to my channel, I really appreciate it. I also do have a Patreon account for those who want to support me this way. So for those who've already finished the original Western Mythos, this will be very similar to the dungeon that is the City of Lost Paradise. So what that means is there will not only be the normal chests, which you're going to be getting either materials, chat scripts, or whatnot, that you collect through the 3 different areas. There will also be sparkles that you show up on the map that you can collect that will give you points, which you'll then trade in at the beginning machine there at the store for certain items and gear even. And so I would highly recommend you to definitely collect all of the sparkles in each run through. Now, in the case of you killing all the mobs, that depends on whether or not you want to farm the materials faster or not. That being said, the fact that this dungeon will be here for some time, obviously permanent content, and depending on what other sources of dungeons you want to use your red keys on, you can still stay here for a while, in which case you don't have to force yourself to kill all the mobs. Now, as you can quickly see, the mobs are fast, they are deadly, and they are continuously attacking. So be very aware that you should definitely bring a high level team if possible. Obviously all 5 stars, hopefully grassed up, geared up. Even with my team, some of them are speed 300 by the way, and I'm still getting outsped randomly. Also make sure you bring a team that has dual debuffs. You'll definitely need int and power debuffs depending on which end boss you are taking on, and certainly even for the mobs, if you are having difficulty handling the mobs, you can either use dual debuffs to handle it, or more easily just bring a unit or units that can do powerful AoEs, preferably those with priority. You can definitely choose units like ASU bombing, for example, all the 0 MP ones, and if you need them to be faster, hopefully you can use either the Falcon's badge, which was available, or you can use the Falcon's Grasta to make sure your DPS acts first. In my case, I'm using an all-free team, and this was my first foray into this dungeon just to kind of see what we're up against. Now, one thing to note is, just like the City of Lost Paradise, not only are there 3 areas, there are only 2 chests in each of the 3 areas. So a little bit different than the standard 2-1-3 combination that we see in traditional dungeons. This one's a 2-2-2, so make sure you collect appropriately as needed. And there are rare areas in which you can get enchant scripts. So as you get more used to the different areas, you'll make note that certain names don't show up nearly as often as others, especially in areas 2 and 3. You cannot get a enchant script, of course, in area 1. And when they are rare, even if you want to skip the chests, I will highly recommend not to, since on rare areas, one of the chests will have a 5% chance of getting a chat script, and of course, rare areas show up about 10% of the time on average. And so for those who are newer to the game, this is one great source of grinding out chat scripts. All red key dungeons do obviously drop chat scripts, except the ones that gather points like the Persona 5, for example, Tales of, and so on and so forth. IDA School, there's a few other exceptions as well. But in this case, this one kind of gathers points in a way, but since you're still killing off mobs, this one does qualify for chat scripts, so make sure you collect those chests as needed. Now, in my case, I have an all-slash team. Note that some of the enemies, especially the notable ones being the turtle, would be more vulnerable or weak to blunt, in which case I have no blunt units on my team. The turtle shell is going to resist all the attacks of my team, even resists magic, and so again, unless you're bringing some high-powered units, aka Eva, Flamelpis, and those other so-called one-shot kill type teams, that would make your life a lot easier. As of the time of this recording, this was just my free team. I've been using teams comprised of a full magic team with AS Shield as preemptive poison and pain, and then obviously just using either Eva or something else Flam to kill everything. So you can see that since the mobs itself can outspeed you, your team can easily die no problems at all, and the mobs can take definitely 1,000 or 2,000 damage against your team minimum. So good thing is, obviously in between fights we can recover using our healer, which is in this case is Clark. I actually didn't know what to expect, and so I did at least bring one healer just to make sure. Keep in mind, in terms of dual debuffer, we have Kid, who has obviously the Z still. We even have True Manifested Azami, which has that Culmination Winch, which is an int down 30, as well as Heavenly Dance, which is obviously counterattack plus power down 30. Right. So just make note of the areas that have the treasure chests. You can generally, when you explore a map for the first time, you kind of look for the ones that kind of have a dead end. Those are usually the areas that have chests, and make sure as you get more familiar with the dungeon, you try to map out such that you run into those treasure chests, aka sparkles. Oh man, that is rough. And collect those on the way to get those treasure chests. I would also highly recommend killing the horrors as needed. They are different horrors, and you do need those materials to upgrade your weapons once you get them. I'm just collecting them as I go first, and obviously depending on how things go later, I can show you those upgrades once I've collected enough times. I will say I'll be spending time in this dungeon for the next little while, being that I was already grinding for Curio's Light. One unique thing about this dungeon is that if you've gotten the chance to get Mayu as 5-star, and keep in mind that if you don't know how to do that, there is a video on that. There's just a quest that you have to do that unlocks after chapter 7. It actually unlocks at the V on Rose, in which case you can finish that up, get Mayu 5-star for free, and you can choose to grind out either one. So if you go to the left one, note that you will be fighting a different boss and have a 1 in 5 chance of getting Mayu Light. And if you do the right side, you'll have again a 1 in 5 or 20% chance of getting a Light for Curio. If you're wondering what I'm doing here, I actually am slightly short an AF bar, and I wasn't sure what to expect when taking on this boss, and so I wanted to have an AF bar, and I'll show you exactly why I would recommend using an AF bar, especially if your team's a little bit weaker. Now, if your team's strong enough, obviously, like I said, the preemptive Horai Jewel, for example, and then one-shot kills with those Flamel has Eva team, obviously that'll be fine. You can also let me know in the comments below what teams you are planning to bring for this dungeon, or what you've been having success with. In this case, I went in without bar. And the problem is, even you've tried to 2-turn AF, as in you will VC in a slash zone, in my case I have a crest, or do something else like that, the boss will right away start water zone with a single target attack, and then do a massive elemental attack that's the same zone. So this is random, by the way. It can be fire, water, earth, or wind, and it's just like the original boss in chapter 7, or the final chapter, except that it doesn't summon the minions beforehand. Note that because it has a zone already active, that reduces your attack, and your AF will be much shorter, since your team is not able to gain AF when not doing that element's zone. So that really sucked really bad. So because you cannot escape out of the dungeon to go back out and charge your AF bar, I was stuck with the team I had. I did have food, so I recharged all my things, and I decided to play the long game. So if you're wondering what I did here, just cast for Salvage Mod. The boss is only casting elemental attacks, as in magic attacks, not physical attacks, so you'll definitely need a type shield. If you have int down, that will help a lot. So we're using combination ways to apply that int down. We have Z Steel applying int down, and Establishment gives us a 30% type shield plus heals. My strategy was, regardless of what zone we're up against, as long as we have multiple debuffs down and healing every turn, we can barely survive. You can still see with all the mitigation, we're still taking about 2k turn, and I'm just using Aldo to wear it down, since Aldo is my main DPS on this team. You can see that I am surviving. The boss does a ton of damage, and it just rotates to Earth zone in this case. If you're wondering why I didn't bother VCing in Crest to reestablish zone, it won't matter. The boss will start casting another elemental attack and reestablish zone himself, unless you lock the zone with another zone. Or if you have a 1-turn AF, such as something like Cyan Scyther, flash grown Grasta, inherent units that can cast zone from a move, that will help. A VC zone will not help you in this case. You're going to get slaughtered. So there you have it. If you do have that type shield plus the int down, you will survive. And I believe you can bring either light or shadow for this dungeon, so you need 120 light or shadow to get max rewards, which is 3 reward lines. I haven't gotten a codex or opus here, but I believe treatises, codexes, and opuses all do drop here. This is my team that I brought in with the loadout, so you can take a look here. And at the end of this, I will show you the other boss. So remember, this side was for Curio's chance of getting light, so you'll fight the one boss, which is one Cardinal Vestige boss, which we've seen in the final chapter. And if you decide to try to grind Mayu's light, you'll be fighting the other boss, which is a different Cardinal Vengeance, which we had seen in the final chapter as well. Not only that, but you do get rewards as you earn more points, which you can, like I said, trade it in. And you can also collect some of those rewards. You earn some VC Grasta for, I believe, a few characters from the Lost Lab. So make sure you collect those in the inbox. Alright, so from Mayu's side, you can see we have that stupid swirling eclipse kind of black hole, and we have the Vengeance guy. So right away, first turn, attacks you very, very quickly. Now, the good thing is we can establish zone right here. And so I did VC in a zone to establish the slash zone. And note that it is random what that spinning Orb of Death does. In this case, it canceled my zone, which is not very nice. But that being said, we have an all AF bar, so we're just going to bar it right here. I don't care if it's outside zone. We should be able to do enough damage. Note that I do have, of course, the same setup with a pretty high-end Grasta setup. And so if you are finding a difficulty in damaging the enemy and you don't have access to the Grasta system, that's going to be really, really tough. So make sure you have as best Grasta as you can and as best gear as you can. So you can see that as long as you have an AF, it makes things a lot easier. Otherwise, you're going to have to tough it out. Make sure you have a shields with the dual debuff plus some elemental shields on your team. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.